We're going to call this meeting to order. Ask Chief Hansen to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please ask the clerk to do the roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Yep.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
And I'm here. Move on to item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Do we have any correspondence?
Yes, Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent in a liquor license application for the Chevron located in Union, along with the Ridge Motorsports Park. Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board also sent in a change in limited liability members on behalf of Evergreen Grow Pro.
Great, thank you. Move on to item number 5. This is the time we set aside for the public, or to give the public the opportunity to stand up and talk with us. Man, it's a Tuesday. It feels like a Monday. So if you'd like to address the commission, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you, state your name and your address, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Jeff Carey, 890 East Cedar Street, Belfair. I know she laughs because it's always been Alan. Anyway, a couple weeks ago I spoke a little bit about the sewer and through data that Frank provided me, and also I found another link to like about 4 different reports. I didn't look at one, there was 3, didn't have the data, but the 4th one did. But anyway, I looked a little further and just looked at some aspects of the sewer system, and not to get into nitty-gritty, but just in the big picture things. Couple items I came across is that when you look at the sewer system over the last, since 2011, you know, the rates have gone up, you know, either by inflation or whatever the costs or what have you been involved, but mainly by inflation, but basically increased by about 30% over that time frame. But when we look at like your labor, you know, your labor has gone up 2.3 times, at least as the categories are presented. I've noticed we dropped. It's like we have a name for a classification of expense, and then 6 years down the road we change the name, and so now it starts off the new one starts off at 0. So trying to run back and compare, it gets a little tricky when you look back through the old reports, but there's that much difference. To give you an idea that in the last 2 years, at least what's budgeted, you know, is about it was 28% more than it was 2 years ago, and I realize cost of insurance and different things, you know, for medical insurance and things like that are going up, but like just in the last 2 years alone, the benefits have gone up roughly 48%. Or excuse me, 42%. So, you know, that's a lot in a couple of years, and there may be reasons. And I have no issue with new staff that's coming on board. We have a lot of transition, so I'm not complaining about the staff that's working it now. You know, the new deputy director or anything like that. But I'm just saying, we, as a county, we need to look at it and make sure that you know, we're really the funds are what we need to spend. Some interesting other notes is we used to have an insurance fee for for problems that would occur to the sewer system, and I noticed in last year's budget it wasn't there; it was 0. That's one interesting aspect. It just like it was like 24,000 a couple of years ago, and then for 2020 it's 0. I understand as the system gets older, repairs are going to cost more. So it's a little hard to follow what's going on there. They are higher, but that may be whatever. But just, you know, keep this in the back of your mind that for every $15,600 of costs that are in that system, that raises everybody's rate by $1 a month. So there's that aspect. Another thing I've spoken to in the past I'm concerned about is that we're using our connection fees significantly for the maintenance and operation of the system. As you know, I've testified a number of times that I believe that some portion of that should be, preferably all of it, but some portion of it should be put aside for future expansion as the UGA expands and the service area expands. We're not doing that. One issue with that down the road is if we have another 2010, 11, 12 timeframe where we had very few new structures built in the Allen UGA, to give you an idea, we would have a shortage that would mean that basically, would have, by my calculations, would have to raise the rates at least, $15 per customer to cover that shortfall, or fund it some other way. So these are all concerns I have about the system. Another thing too, like on the capital contributions, which I assume is related to connection fees. They kind of make sense the last few years, but then this, for 2020, we only budgeted $33,000, which is 3 connections. And already we've had, at least by permits that have been issued, and I assume that's when they've been paid, the fees have been paid. As I recall, we're about 13. So, I mean, just the difference right there, I mean, that's $110,000 that's higher coming in there. And I guess one final thing, when you look at the expenses, forgetting the beginning balance issues and all those kind of issues and what have you, but just looking at what's being spent and what's being brought in on the actuals for 2018 and 2019, there is about, at least let's see, it's about 200 and, I think there's about $237,000 that were not spent. So to me, that's a number that could be used to start building that reserve on top of everything else.
Okay, we're gonna have to.
I know, so that's enough numbers for one point in time. I know that's my 3 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever, but, sewer goes on forever. And it's just something I think the county needs to look at and address and solve and get this behind us so that you don't put our community in harm's way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Morning, Commissioners.
Hello.
I'm here to speak to you today in my role as the chairman of the board of the Shelton Family Centers, now called the Shelton Youth Connection. Been around very short time with amazing support from the community, from the state, and from you, the commissioners. We have a strong board. We have a big mission, and I wanted to introduce you today to the executive director, Susan Kirchhoff, to tell you a little bit more about it.
So I'm Susan Kirchhoff, and my address is 793 Greenview Lane, Shelton. I use a P.O. box, so I have to always remember that. So, excuse me, thank you for letting me come and speak. I did want to share about the Shelton Youth Connection. We're really excited. We originally started out as Shelton Family Center. That is still our legal name, but we're going to start branding the Shelton Youth Connection because the name family makes people call us and go, oh, can I bring my kids for daycare? So we want to really focus on youth. Our age bracket is 12 to 24. We have a specific focus on homeless youth. We started in January 2018. Got our business license and everything, got our nonprofit by September. So we're pretty excited. It's just actually been rolling and moving forward. Our mission is to support youth through life challenges and encourage their best possible outcome. Because what my outcome for them is not necessarily what their outcome for them is. So we have to really support them through their services. We provide a bunch of stuff. I'm just excited, and you can hear it in my voice, and I just go, ah! So I apologize. We're just so excited about what's happened. We were given a grant through the county, a small grant to help us get our Youth Homeless Demonstration Project grant. And I just did a training, and we're like I don't know if this is a good thing. We're the highest for the homeless in the homeless management system for Mason County. When you have 23 communities that we're dealing with, and ours had the highest homeless number in the system. So that's a positive in the sense that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, but it's not so grand if we, Mason County, are the highest. So that's kind of a, what does that look like? What we're hoping to do is just keep moving forward. We've seen 489 youth come through our door from September when we opened at our new location till the end of the year. Some of those are repeaters, so let me explain. I mean, there are people that have come in, but from that we've serviced 11 homeless youth, one we found a housing for, so that's just been a big positive. Where we're going, we just got another grant that we're pretty excited about, and it all focuses again on homeless youth. We're moving forward, we're excited. We actually are having an event at the end of the month, and I'm just gonna leave it for you guys, but it'll be on our website. It's the Sound of Our Youth, and we had a youth from the high school actually is heading it up, and is pretty excited about it. And then just sometime in the next month, either me or Terry are gonna contact you and ask you to come and see us, because you really have to see what we're doing. It's hard to verbalize what it is, and I'm gonna leave you a brochure if that's okay.
What's the date for your event?
Oh, March 27th. It's from 7 to 9, and it really is showcasing the local youth. The youth that came to us is pretty excited about it. She came to the center and was like, ooh, this is like home. We could play music here. So we've just really focused on local youth, local talent. The Shades and Illusions are gonna come and play from the high school. And so, yeah, we're excited. It'll be on our website too. So I'm gonna hand you these if that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Knight. I live in Allen, Post Office Box 84 in Allen, or 31 East Way. And I'm with the North Bay Historic Society, and I wanted to just come down here today and tell you all thank you. Item number 813 on your agenda looks really strange, and people keep asking me what that means. How did we get into that? I'm going to take about 1 minute, and then I've got to say some really big thank yous. We've been working on restoring the Sergeant Oyster building since we started in 2010. And the North Bay Historic Society started it, and then I was the port director at the time, so they asked me to help them get going on it. And thankfully, Randy believed in it, which gave it teeth, and we started going. We haven't stopped since. It's a long time. Anyway, we've been restoring that. We've had to raise a ton of money, and the biggest part, we had to raise it on a grant we got 2 to 1. We got $160,000 in the grant. We've had to raise $320,000 to match that. For a smaller organization than the North Bay Historic Society, that's been monolithic, which is a big part of why it's taken so long. Anyway, so we're to the point, we've got the grant, trying to move ahead, and the port's doing the shoreline part, so they're solid. But we're still like $40,000 short on this project, on the match, so it's sitting there. And I'm not sure who. Could have been the Historic Preservation Commission, could have been the state. I'm not sure who exactly brought our name up. But the Army Corps of Engineers has been working with Olympia Oyster. They want to do a big total replacement of their building. Well, the Army Corps of Engineers says they have to do historic mitigation. They came up with part of it, but they were still kind of lacking. Well, somebody made the suggestion that they give the North Bay Historic Society $40,000 as part of that mitigation, and we will have their displays, and they're going to give us a lot of historic items. But that is just coincidentally the amount we needed to finish the match for our grant. Yay. And so I have so much thanks to give around to everybody, but when you do that, the state was involved in that, the Army Corps of Engineers, and Ed and the Historic Preservation Commission, all those guys, I mean, they all supported it. It was wonderful how many people jumped out and supported it. We've had support from Green Diamond, the Squaxin Tribe, the county, and on and on and on. We had raised over around 250. Then we had some cash in that, but this was the piece that closed this. So we're pretty excited about it. We are signing the contract this afternoon with the contractor to start work. It should start in about 2 weeks. But I just have to say thank you to the permit people. They've been great working with me on this. They've been such a support. And the Historic Preservation Commission and Randy and all of you guys It's been just a labor of love, and we're almost there. And you certainly will get an invitation to the opening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just to compliment Bonnie, you're the light, the candle that everything came around in order to make all that happen. Don't let that part be forgotten, because that is honestly where it all started, where all the effort came from, and is still coming from, holding it up on your shoulders. So,
Thank you, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? Tom? Just a reminder to.
after that
to keep
nice
it
one,
short.
just
It's been a rough week.
yeah.
And it's only Tuesday. Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Davis, I'm in District 2. As you know, I attend the briefings. I try to keep out of your way, and I certainly, over the last 10 years or so, I have never once raised my hand to speak in a briefing simply because the public is not allowed to speak in a briefing, and I'm a process man, so I have never done that once. Once in a while, it gets more difficult when you hear something that is flagrantly untrue and personal about yourself. And this is, I guess, more of a process thing. If that occurs as it did yesterday, I would appreciate, and I think maybe anyone who is maligned would appreciate an opportunity to respond, because that's on the public record. Ordinarily, if people say something off the public record, I don't pay too much attention to it. But once it's on the public record, then people can refer to it. And so that's why I'm standing here now and have to respond to something that was materially untrue. And part of that has to do with what happened with the Homes First project for veterans, which I was blamed for failing. Anybody who knows me knows how I feel about veterans and knows how much time and effort I put into that. We got the wrong partner. I got the wrong partner in this project to get a shelter for veterans. That was the goal. It became apparent early on that that goal was not going to be met for a variety of reasons, that we were just misled to think something was going to happen that did not. I encouraged the commissioners at that time that we need to walk away from this. This is, again, before any money was spent, any allocations. There was nothing on the table materially. Anybody who just walked away and found another partner. That didn't happen, and so this thing dragged on here for several months, and consequently there was purchases of buildings that I had nothing to do with. I had dropped out months ago. There were contract signs half a year later that I had nothing to do. Yet every time this particular project comes up, I get blamed for it. You know, at one point that you have to say, that's quite enough. Now, I'm the kind of guy who keeps all my emails, and this is so. If you're going to attack me, you better bring your A game, because everything that I have documents for to support. So I would be much willing, without going into any more of this, I'd be willing to share these documents in chronological order and tell you exactly what happened from 4 years ago now, and then it'll become very clear that you're just getting blamed because somebody failed and needed to say something to deflect. So I'd appreciate that, and I'm very anxious to share this with you if you're interested. Thank you.
Commissioner, if I agree. Tom, I'd be very anxious to look at those emails and have you walk me through that. As you know, we have to make some decisions on how to move forward with the duplex, and so if you have information that would be helpful to that decision-making process, as it sounds like you might, I'd be more than happy to have you walk me through that.
I'll meet with you after the meeting.
I agree, I would appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and Tom, as you know, I tried to say something at that meeting. I apologize that they even brought up your name in that. You were never a vendor. You were a citizen trying to help and work with that, and the blame was put on you by that person. And I don't want to shorten the importance of what actually occurred in that, because it did make it sound like you had done it, and it was amazing because you were not a part of it when all that did happen. There was a lot of turmoil right before that. We're looking at other buildings, and they just priced it way too much. It was a $300,000 fix on a $200,000 building that would have handled more people, and they just. But you were putting a bad light on something that you did not do, and I apologize that even happened to you in that briefing publicly.
I appreciate that, thank you.
All right, do we have anyone else for public comment? All right, we're running over time, so let's go ahead and move on to item number 6, adoption of agenda.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of today's agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. Move on to item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the February 18th, 2020 briefing minutes as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the February 18th, 2020 briefing minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to item number 8, approval of the action agenda. Commissioners will read through the action agenda, and then let me get my thoughts together. We'll move through the action agenda. Commissioners will decide whether we should brief or if they have other questions or discussion. Commissioner Netherland, if you could read through item 8.1 through 8.6. I'll read 8.7 through 8.11. Commissioner Schutte, if you could read 8.8 through 8.17.
Madam Chair, I'd be happy to. Item number 8.1 reads, approval to authorize the county engineer to sign a construction and maintenance easement agreement along with any agreed upon amendments or modifications to the agreement between the county and Cheryl and Richard Alexander for the ecology block wall at 16391 North Shore Road. Item number 8.2, approval to authorize the county engineer to re-execute a consultant agreement with Gibbs and Olson to continue and complete the work stated under agreement number 17-005 that expires at the end of the calendar year 2019 to design the water and wastewater system that will connect the city of Shelton mains in the vicinity of Public Works Drive and SR 102. Item number 8.3, approval of resolution rescinding resolution 106-19, establishing an Impress revolving checking account for Lake Management District number 3 for the Spencer Lake. Item number 8.4, approval of resolution authorizing the use of equipment rental and revolving fund services by other Mason County departments and offices. Item number 8.5, approval to authorize Frank Pinter, Director of Support Services, to sign Department of Commerce request for amendment to the CDBG Microenterprise Loan Program CDBG contract number 18-62210-039. Item number 8.6, approval to amend resolution 2020-01 and the Mason County Personnel Policy to update Chapter 13 Vehicle Use Policy to include the use of motor pool vehicles.
Item 8.7, approval of warrants and treasurer electronic remittances. Claims Clearing Fund warrants number 8070667 through 8070792 in the amount of $329,935.26. Direct Deposit Fund warrants number 66083 through 66467 in the amount of $724,507.70. Salary Clearing Fund warrants number 7005015 through 7005039 in the amount of $507,435.82. Item 8.8, approval to enter into a lease agreement with North Mason Resources, providing office space to Veteran Services officers for 2020 at $350 per month, payable from the Veterans Assistance Fund number 190, as recommended by the Veterans Advisory Board. Item 8.9, approval of the motor pool use procedures for current use in public health vehicles separate from ER&R. Item 8.10, approval of an amended agreement between Mason County and Summit Food Services for jail and juvenile meal services. Item 8.11, approval of the interlocal agreement for pathology services between Kitsap County and Mason County.
Item 8.12, approval to set a public hearing on Tuesday, April 7th, 2020 at 9:15 a.m. to inform citizens of the availability of funds and eligible uses of the State Community Development Block Grant and receive comments on proposed activities specifically funding the Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties, as well as receive comments on the 2019 program. Item 8.13, approval of a memorandum of agreement between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Washington State Historic Preservation Officer regarding the demolition of the historic Olympia Oyster Company Oyster House on Totten Inlet that will benefit the Sergeant Oyster House restoration in Allen. Item 8.14, approval of contract QC.2060.2020.1 with Kyoto Communities in the amount of $190,000 to support new building for the Veteran Home Village. Item 8.15, approval to have the chair sign the declaration of support of motion to intervene regarding 2 recent decisions by the State of Washington Board of Natural Resources and DNR Sustainable Harvest Calculation in the Long-Term Conservation Strategy for the Marble Merlet. Item 8.16, approval to sign a resolution amending Resolution 07-17 and 11-18, authorizing support services to pay certain charges from county fund and department budgets. And item 8.17, approval of amendment number 1 to the Homes First contract for the single-family property at 420 South 7th Street to change use from a veteran shelter to a group transitional home for single adults with veteran preference, and approval of the memorandum of understanding with Homes First for use of the home to house therapeutic court participants needing housing.
Thank you. Now that we've read through the action agenda, are there any items you'd like to be removed for a separate vote? No? Any items the public would like to be removed for a separate vote or discussion?
Madam Chair, 8.17, please.
Great. All right. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move approval of items on the action agenda numbered 8.1 through 8.16 with 8.17 removed for separate discussion and vote.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the action agenda items 8.1 through 8.16 and remove 8.17 for separate discussion and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The action agenda is passed. Let's move on to item 8.17 and have staff come forward to brief. We have staff to brief. Oh, there you are. You were
Anybody?
hiding.
Bueller?
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Wyndham, Mason County Community Services. As of Friday, Mason County Community Services Public Health Division stood up our emergency command system in response to the
Go away.
excuse me. In response to COVID-19.
We're discussing item 8.17.
Oh.
You're jumping the gun?
I'm jumping the gun. I will sit down.
Todd? Todd?
Todd, would you like to come forward and?
I thought that was odd that you were coming up, because I was looking at Todd's face.
Hey, go for it.
You know, it's funny, is Todd thought it was odd too.
Yeah. All right. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Well, briefly, so in working with Homes First, when I was even hired about a little over 3 years ago, this project was already in motion, contract already signed. So one of the things that was discovered is the city would not permit the home as the use of a shelter where it's zoned. And so we try to work through that process to get it, but they would allow a group or shared living space. So we allow that for the veterans during the time frame. Homes First had worked and found a provider to offer some of the support services for that to happen. That service provider wanted to stop providing services back October 2019. So we found or thought to be a good solution for the property was our therapeutic courts. They have a veteran court, so it would still keep the veterans as a preference and a place to be housed. But what we were finding is over half of therapeutic court participants. So if one year we looked at about 59 participants, well, almost 50% went homeless. And so finding housing is a challenge, and so this felt was a good solution to provide housing for those that really needed it. Another condition of the therapeutic courts is people need housing to be able to enter the program. So we were doing it as a kind of a corollary benefit that they would be able to maybe increase participation in the therapeutic courts. If somebody needed housing, then they could get housing and enter. So we thought it would improve graduation rates as well as number of participants in the program. Another piece is the treatment sales tax, the 1/10 of 1%, was used from the county, 50,000, so half of what was contributed from the county to that. And a condition of that RCW is that it's used, the housing is used part of a treatment program, which the therapeutic courts satisfies. So really when we looked at the whole project, the duplex and the single family home, it was hard to find that it was really part of a designated treatment, coordinated treatment effort. So that was another reason for kind of bringing in the therapeutic courts.
Okay, do you have any questions for staff? Do we have questions for?
I have no questions. I have just a comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Since this is on the agenda, it's necessary to comment on this. The whole purpose of this arrangement was to have a veteran shelter, not a group home, not a family. None of that was ever in demand, and none of that was ever needed. It was always supposed to be a shelter. That's what we needed, and that was the direction we were supposed to go in. The city, regardless of whether the city said allowed the shelter or not, and I haven't confirmed that, the property should never have been purchased if the city wouldn't allow. The contract says it's a shelter. It even says right here, change it from a shelter. It's never been a shelter. That has been the ongoing problem all along. And it's never been a shelter because it was never intended to be a shelter from the other side. We wanted a shelter, but the other side said shelters don't pay the rent. And that is a discussion that should have happened prior to going out for any funding and so on. So the whole thing was kind of kick the can down the road till it was too late. And then 2 places were purchased, and neither one of them are shelters. So for the last 4 years, while we still have needed a veteran shelter, we have none. Yet we have these 2 buildings that the county has contributed $100,000 to, and the state has contributed $200,000 to, and we still don't have the shelter. So I'm actually in support. I think this is a very innovative idea, because aside from veterans, even non-veterans, when you go to court for a DV, a domestic violence charge, when you leave court, you don't have any place to go. You're done. Unless you have friends, you can sleep on the couch or so on, and that you can't get into veterans court unless you have clean and sober, stable housing. So this provides us, so we're all in support of this, but all these aspects of it require a little explanation how we got here, and since this is in the agenda, I took advantage of that time. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
Make a motion then, comment. Madam Chair, I move for the approval of amendment number 1 to Homes First contract and to approve the MOU between county and therapeutic courts and Home First.
Second?
Okay, have a motion and a second. Do we have discussion?
Yes, Todd, I just want to give you a pat on the back and a thank you for a good save. You took a project that was failing and had failed, and you're changing it with a lot of work and effort and a lot of scars to show for it into something that I think is going to be very beneficial, and you got us back, you're getting us back our value for our money spent. So I just want to thank you for that.
Madam Chair, I'll also just say a special word of thanks to Todd and Lydia. Worked very hard with Homes First, as well as Tim Whitehead from our prosecuting attorney's office, who put a lot of time and effort into reviewing the MOU and the contract to find an agreement. It wouldn't have happened without that staff support and encouragement. And you know, as Tom had alluded to, it kind of evaded us how to kind of make best use of this facility that was clearly not gonna be working to what the original intent was. And so I think this is a good compromise. It helps therapeutic courts out tremendously with keeping people in the program, getting them housed, as well as it'll be a savings to the treatment sales tax that we've been paying out to sort of third-party independent landlords and first and last month's rent and deposits and all that kind of thing. This streamlines that. This makes it more cost-efficient to get folks that are in need of housing in that program into this house versus trying to find housing that's available in other parts of the county. And they'll continue to have a good oversight and case management from our therapeutic court staff. So I think this is a win for the county. I think this is a win for therapeutic courts. And it's a win for the people who are desperately in need of the programming that's available there. And to Todd, I would maybe go back to your office and listen to "I'm Still Standing" by Elton John, because I know how much time and effort and work that you had to put into getting us to this point, and so my appreciation.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything that you've done. You're a member of a very awesome team, I think. Tom, your dedication to veterans, it's amazing and very appreciated.
You deserve it, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, they do. They do. And I'm excited because finally a home is going to be used.
Yeah.
A vacant home is finally going to be used, and that's needed in Mason County. So great work. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve amendment number 1 to Homes First contract for the single family property at 420 South 7th Street, to change use from a veterans shelter to a group transitional home for single adults with veteran preference, and approval of the memorandum of understanding with Homes First for the use of the home to house therapeutic court participants needing housing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. All right. Now, we're gonna move on to item number 9.
I think Dave might have something to say.
Dave does have something. Department heads or elected officials.
Okay. Good morning again, Commissioners. So, after a brief false start, introduce Todd. I have a great team. We're all excited about all kinds of things. So as of Friday, we did stand up our emergency command system for our response to COVID-19. And yesterday started the first of our daily briefings and started putting together the response team. This morning, we expanded that response team to include our partners such as the hospital, MACECOM, Sheriff's Office, EMTs. So we've expanded our reach of who is on the team. The situation that we used as our planning assumptions were on the friendly side. Mason Public Health is staffed but with absences for at least one nurse. We have 5,000 N95 masks on hand. The health officer is available by phone, text, and email. And as of this morning, Mountain View Elementary closed for deep cleaning. Assumptions on the threat side is the coronavirus is assumed to be already in the community. We assume our first diagnosed case within 3 days. We assume 3 more cases within the next 3 days, and assume 1 case is in a public school. We use these assumptions for planning purposes to have responses in hand, ready to go, should any of those things happen. Actual threats, we've had 6 deaths in King and Snohomish County, 18 confirmed cases in King and Snohomish counties. The mission for our group is pretty simple. Mason County Community Services Department of Public Health leads community-wide response to the first cases of COVID-19 to contain spread, ensure rapid response, and keep the public informed. Commander's intent, not later than close of business Monday, March 2nd, Mason County Community Services conducts a community assessment of resources and prepares an operations plan for the first 6 days of COVID-19 response to ensure a focus on medical personnel, EMT protection, and preparedness. And the team is together. We are producing documents. This morning we started our integration with the DOH response as well. So we have information up and down. Yesterday we met with the hospital and set trigger points. So at what point in this emergency should it occur? Do we have triggers that allow us to receive outside aid and support? So we broke out our infectious disease control plan with public health. We reviewed that plan with Mason County General Hospital last night, and the Sheriff's Office this morning. So, and I'm open for questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, Dave, just some, maybe some advice or things that people can be doing to take precautions to prevent the spread of not only coronavirus but other transmitted viruses.
Absolutely. So we're really in the middle of our flu season. So we have influenza A, influenza B are out there already. So many share the same similarities. In fact, we are producing some documents that will be online today that outline the similarities and differences between COVID-19 and the regular flu season. It all really boils down to hygiene. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, cover your cough if you're out in public, maintain some social distance, and again, wash your hands, keep clean. The symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, dry cough, nasal congestion, sore throat, possible diarrhea, difficulty breathing. So there are some differences from the regular flu. What we're asking people to do is, if you feel you have the symptoms, please call your primary care physician and have that physician walk you through whether you need to come into the ER for screening. Let your primary care physician be that gatekeeper for you to come into the ER. Some insurance companies also have a screening nurse available online where you can chat, phone, or text to the nurses to get that screening information as well.
Great.
We'll be hearing more shortly.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
10
thank you.
o'clock.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave.
Do we have another department head that would like to introduce someone?
Sure. And I'll make it quick because I know we've got a year in, but good morning, Commissioners. Loretta Swanson, Public Works, and I'd like to take a moment to introduce our new county engineer, Jack Collins. And if you want to hop on up and do a quickie welcome.
Thank you. What do you want to know?
All kinds of good things.
I'm in county government for 32 years with Pacific County. I started when I was in 1988 as an engineer tech 1 and progressed up through the engineering side of the program, the department, and eventually in 2002 I became a professional licensed surveyor, so they hired me in that position, that capacity. 2005 I got my professional license for engineering, moved into the operations manager position. 2010 I took over as Director of Public Works, County Engineer. So I've been there ever since. Got the opportunity here. I met with Loretta and Kevin and thought it was a pretty good fit. It's challenging and stuff. So and it has been so far for a day and a half. So. I've been meeting a great staff. They've all been really helpful, informative stuff. Looking forward to it.
Great. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, we sure appreciate you coming here, and
Thank
I'll tell you, everybody's pretty excited about you.
you. For now.
Yeah, don't let us down.
Take it while you can.
That's right.
All right, do we have any other department heads or electeds that would like to address? All right, we're gonna move on to item 10. This is our public hearing. We ask staff to come forward to brief.
Good morning, Kel Rowan with Mason County Planning. This is a public hearing for a rezone application request in the Allen Urban Growth Area. The applicant, there's an applicant representative, but there are several applicants for a group of adjacent parcels. There's 27 parcels total and totals just under 9 acres. It's in the Village Commercial Zone of Allen, up off and adjacent to Wheelwright Street. And the request is to medium density residential. The medium density residential zone is adjacent to and across the road of Wheelwright Street, so it will be adjacent to that area. The Planning Advisory Commission did recommend approval to the Board of Commissioners for the rezone. Staff recommends approval as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Nope. Okay. Any questions from public for staff? Yes. Got a
I've
question
never
right
heard of
behind
it.
you.
I live in Allen, I wish they'd advertise more so that people knew what was going on out there, because we have no idea. And I live basically in that area. Just a comment.
Great.
Remind me what the density is, the median density.
I think it's 4 to 12 units per acre.
No, it's 10.
Is it 10?
10.
Let me look real quick. Sorry. Yeah, I could look that up to confirm. I didn't.
That's fine, I'm
okay.
going Brad.
Me too.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
And where specifically is that? I'm not familiar with the law.
I'm going to head over to the map,
Thank you.
if that's all right. Hold that up for this reason.
I only asked because I was on the original planning meeting, so.
So this is Wheelwright here,
Yes.
and this is, Jeff, tell me real quick, this road?
That's Drum.
Drum Street, thank you. So it's these parcels in here.
You want me to run the corner?
So, I can draw a map. Look at this, you're gonna test my drawing skills on our GIS.
Not that, there, right.
Is that Wheelwright you're going down?
She's going down Sullivan behind
That's
you.
what I thought right there. It's adjacent to my property.
Right. And then down the line there, yeah. Right to that, right.
Sorry I picked this color.
You can make it fatter or something.
We still have fingers. We can go up there and just go like this.
Randy, come on, this is so much fun.
This is
And if Rico was here, he'd be proud of me. Hopefully he's watching me on TV. Terrible color. So I'm not sure I could undo or redo it at this point. Anyway, it's this comprises of 8.66 acres. This is the medium density R2 zone right in here, this orange color. This is all village commercial, the blue. This comprises about just under 20% of the village commercial area. So that is the area.
I'm sorry, I can't see which. I see Drum Street. What's the one right above that? Is that?
You want me to
that-
get
yeah.
boundaries? Starting at the north, Wade Street, on the west, Wheelwright, down Wheelwright to roughly where that duplex is being built right now. In other words, right in front of Margie Missouri's house. roughly. And then.
So Margie.
Give me legal descriptions. I can give you. I love it, it's just, you want part?
We all know where Margie lives,
You want parcel numbers, I give you parcel numbers. They cross from Margie's house, basically to the alley. In other words, we're putting up, if you want the blocks, it's like block 45, 44, 54.
Can I just walk up there and look at that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I love the description, but I'm a little conscious here as far as what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Now, where were we?
So it's this area from here down to here.
No, if you go back
Okay,
to
this
that.
turn, you're going down to,
This is
now, is that the Bill's property? The shopping center part that hasn't been built?
Correct. And actually Demerson's on it right now.
Okay.
Oh, I love small communities.
Well, ours It works.
Yeah, because that's the one that borders pretty much all the way around
Right,
the
right.
property. So, yeah, I'm concerned. So, but it would have been good as the property owner adjacent that I had had, or somebody would have had some information on it. That's all it's part of it. Nothing personal, but you know how the
No, I know
process
that.
works. We're supposed to hear about it.
No, and as part of the SEPA and the permit process, I provided actually 60 mailing labels to all the adjacent property owners that were within 300 feet. I mean, in other words, I provided to the county, so. And I know you're just in there, but.
I know, but we live 20 miles from the county. And it would have been good if the Allen Community Association or the North Bay Review, right, our local newspaper had known that this was happening to our adjacent properties.
Some of them were informed.
Some of them were?
Yeah.
Gosh. Borders on two sides of my property.
Yeah.
so-
No, I see that.
Yeah, I'm concerned.
So now's the time for public comment, if anyone would like to address.
I'm gonna reject it.
Yeah, I'll discuss any point or issue with it. I mean,
Okay.
you know, we have testimony from twice in the pack. And if you, and I'm happy to give more background to this. Again, the genesis for this.
State your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeff Carey, 890 Cedar Street, East Cedar Street in Belfair, 4,000 feet from the Allen UGA. Anyway, this whole rezone request got its impetus started because our family and two others were not getting any progress as far as either roads or commercial development. We were at the ends and nothing happened over the last 15, 16 years, and actually longer, but we'll just take that to when the zoning first was proposed and looked at. So, you know, we looked at this and originally put a proposal in front of the property owners that basically said, this is the three blocks, which are block 44, 45, and 55. So it's about 3.3 acres is how this first started out. I went to property owners that were adjacent to the south, especially coming from where the commercial is coming, so that you know, figure out who wanted to do what or not, and where the issues were. Several of those asked to be included in the rezone. So that's why it became 8.66 acres. So that's how that happened in the process. The issue that I've had and voiced to planning back at the 2016 review of the comp plan and more in the more recent time is the issue that, okay, we're game for going commercial there, but it's not happening. And we have slopes issue in that area. At least 40% of it has slopes greater than 10%. That's not real economical to build on. And so that's one aspect. Another aspect we got looking at is neither private sector nor the county seemed to have, when it came to doing commercial type things, had the wherewithal financially to pull together a stormwater plan that would deal with all, you know, those being commercially developed lands, because you would have parking. In other words, there's about, if that property was developed to its full use as commercial property, it would be roughly about 340,000 square feet of commercial space in that 8.66 acres. So, and knowing that there's more requirements for commercial and then that's going to require stormwater containment more because of the commercial side. Some of it, you know, in the good old days, remember the issues when the stormwater was coming down to your properties, your
Well, it
projects.
still does.
Yeah.
It's flooding our property.
So those became issues.
That's my concern.
Right. And fully aware. The problem is like we said, okay, let's go for less intense and something that might move in the next 20 years or 15 years or sometime X, even now in my lifetime. So that's how that whole came about. And we started looking at it and saying, okay, what's the traffic impact on that? And residential, in this rezone, there would be up to, it could be up to as many as either 69 or 70 houses. They could be. But if you look at commercial, so you multiply that out and you say, okay, that's, engineering wise, that's 700 trips a day, roughly. But if you took it to commercial, and I'll say there's a couple layers of commercial. If you just took it to office, more just office commercial, the number of trips, at least what the engineering reports say, is there's about, I want to say it was roughly about 4 times more trips per, per on an equal basis, meaning a parcel being a house versus an office structure using one lot, including parking. So you start multiplying this out and you say, well, shoot, we're going to go from 700 trips when it's fully developed, and it's nowhere near, it's not even developed at this point, to, instead of 700, now you're going to go to 2,800. That's going to create a crisis because there's no real good plan about how we interface Wheelwright long term. Then if you go to retail, it's another couple times above that. So we just said, okay, let's back off the pressure on this development within, the area, and say, okay, we need less stormwater. How do we get that down? Yet at the same time, give some option to the property owners, myself included, to do something with the property that seemed reasonably feasible, that gave some return. And so there's a series of things. I, like Bonnie, was involved with the zoning regs from the beginning. So we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. We all, in that committee, took it, had things that didn't necessarily fall in our favor. With their properties, our properties, and what have you. But we all members worked through that for the good, for the good of the community. All we brought to the thing is that saying, okay, this isn't happening, this isn't working, what can we do? And this is, in talking to also these property owners adjacent and within this rezone as well as adjacent upstream, most if not all, were not thrilled about doing anything during the Wheelwright in the commercial county road. They had no trouble going to county road. What they had trouble with is what that meant that they might have to put up with. Meaning they felt that it could be controlled as a neighborhood road, a neighborhood street, but if it went where the county was involved and say it ever went through to Highway 3 off of Wheelwright or what have you, then they would lose control, and they did not see that as a good use of one county developing it, with any county funds. But two, they didn't want to see more road pressure, more vehicle pressure going through the neighborhood. Another point that was raised a while back is, and I've talked to the director, Dana, up at the North Mason School District. They're looking for property, to be able to expand or put a school somewhere else. My dad has property that might fit that bill, but when, generically, without really getting into the nitty-gritty of it, when we looked at what they really needed for acreage, what they were trying to avoid, again, because we're on a slope, they didn't want to put a school on a slope where they had the same thing there, just off Highway 3 in Belfair. And that's, starts flat and goes up. This is slope all the way. Plus, they would need, 15 acres to make it work. And it just, there isn't acreage there. So, nothing's perfect in this process, but all I can say is that I've reviewed probably, there's like 11 different documents the county has, from, our comp plans, the 2016 one, to the zoning regs for Allen, to the tip cap presentations, to the TIP program for the next 6 years, to the stormwater plans that the county's created, to the circulation plan for the plan that the state had for Highway 3 through there and what have you. There's nothing with this rezone request that seriously, I mean, or consequently, is in disagreement with anything that we're proposing with the change of this use from village commercial to residential. And if anything, it's lightening the load on the infrastructure of one type. And on the other hand, if development happens, it's another $750,000 of connection fees to the county for the sewer. So, you know, it's not, like I say, it's not a perfect process, but that's that. So, and I'm open to any questions. I know as well as Bonnie, as well as many others, for all the years we put into it. So, anyway, thank you.
Next speak. Okay, I'm Bonnie Knight from Allen. And just a couple questions. 10 dwelling units per acre or 10 houses per acre is a huge difference. Because you could have high density there, you could have an apartment house in an acre. Not a big deal, because you'd be able to have your green space and all that's required. When we were in the planning committee, and we were the original members in 1997, worked a long, worked as like 9 years, I think, by the time we finally got it approved by the county. During that time, there were numerous public hearings in Allen, with as many as 40 or 50 community residents there having input. When we sent it to the county, the whole community, we dealt with all of them, we addressed all their concerns, we went to individual property manager, people, owners, and what I see here is, I don't remember any public hearings in Allen about this. I don't remember ever being contacted directly, although others were. Apparently other property owners were contacted. She showed me a mailing label, something got sent. We were never contacted as property owners. Over the last, I've been there for 25 years, that property. Even when I got there, the property between our property and Highway 3, there's a big gully. It used to have a little seasonal ditch there, kind of runoff, right? During the 100-year storm, the water ran from the far side of Highway 3 clear up to our driveway. I mean, clear up to our driveway. That's huge. And that was what, 10 years ago? Now, every storm, that water runs almost up to our driveway because virtually everything above us and around us has been cleared. And I don't understand how, with the rules we have about runoff control, they've been able to do that, except a piece and a piece and a piece and a piece and a piece. Never, the county knows. When you're doing stuff like this, all of us know, you're supposed to not be able to do it one at a time. If you're a property owner, you have rules regarding how many you can do. Well, somehow that has happened anyway. And our house, we have to dig a ditch around our house now because our solarium floods when there's heavy rains because there's so much water runoff from up there. And it's not Lakeland Village. It is not Lakeland Village. And this is why I'm seriously concerned that this process has gone on. And yes, I'm sure I probably got something in the mail. But the town doesn't know this is happening. The real estate people do, and nothing personal, Randy. I mean, I love you to pieces. But this is a very personal impact on our property, and we didn't know anything about it. And I have a funny feeling that there's an awful lot of other people that didn't know about this. We had public process meetings all the time for that 9 years. Every time a citizen was going to be affected by it, they were notified, they came in, they testified, and we were able to accommodate that. We worked very hard at it, and I feel like this has been a very private process, if you will. And I don't think it meets the standards for public information that should have been out there. So, I think that, you know, much less density would have served the purpose. I'm not saying it needs to stay commercial, but there's a long way between totally commercial as compared to 10 houses per acre around us. And we have the only little fringe of trees left now in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry?
Evening, Commissioners. My name is Terry Drexler. I live in District 3, and I'm testifying in support of what you have in front of you. Aspirational zoning is just that, aspirational. Mason County needs housing. We need housing, and we definitely need multifamily housing. And, to wait out 15 years to see if your comp plan or your sub-area plan's gonna actually have any traction, that's almost too long. I can appreciate the stormwater issues, and I can, spend a bunch of time trying to figure out how that happened. But the truth is, if a developer were to come in with multifamily housing, there's a good chance that you'd be able to look at this a little bit more holistically, and I would encourage you to look at it more holistically. Related to that, I had contacted you folks about a bill I'd been following in the legislature to extend the multifamily tax credit. And that died this year. But one of the things I was noticing was that it was being, they were making some changes in it to require 15 units per acre to be eligible. We need to have whatever incentives we can. I hope that you would be, perhaps not today, but be ready, should this go forward next session and get passed, to be able to do this rezoning you're going to need to do, or at least the development rate changes, not rezoning, but the development rate changes to up your zoning from multifamily to 15. So I hope you'll keep that in mind, and I'll be happy to remind you next session. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Ken?
Ken Van Buskirk, I live in Belfair. About this rezone, I think Mr. Carey submitted it last June, so it's been 9 months. It went to the Planning Commission twice. It went to you folks already once, and it got remanded back to the Planning Commission. The process is a bit in air, and I think you should approve this. I was made aware of it just by staying in touch with what the Planning Commission does. So yeah, I know that the adjoining property owners were notified, and that's the current process as it is. So I seek that you, or ask that you approve this. Thank you.
Okay. All right, do we have any further comment?
One point doing to at least indicate to the staff, and as far Jeff Carey, I'm sorry, with Belfair, and to let Bonnie Knight know too what, because it's private roads, we've been working with, like there's a developer right now, Cedar Land Homes, building homes. We've been working with the developer to put a, for lack of a better word, a driveway under the driveway to basically handle, when you look at all the storms that go through this county over a year, like we looked at the 5-year run, to basically deal with all but a few days a year of the storms that go through this county, to basically handle the water that comes from the roof and their driveways and what have you. You slow it down so it's, it can handle like, I think it was like 1.5 inches in a day, a typical day, but it allows it to seep. So in a week, you could actually have 4 or 5 inches in a week and still be able to almost treat the whole thing. The whole idea is to slow the water so people with property downstream, such as Bonnie and Richard Knight's property, are not going to get any more flooded than they were before we came on the scene. So we are trying to do things to, and this is not required by the county. It's just trying to be decent neighbors and trying to develop without impacting our neighbors, or at least minimizing the impact to our neighbors. So at least that's one issue we have been dealing with. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to Commissioner deliberation or motion.
Start with some deliberation. I will not be speaking in favor of the motion. We've had conversations in the past. I have serious issues with many different aspects of it. One of the things I'd like to share is we already fixed the issue for multifamily in that zone. This was a zone that had many issues for many years and did not allow for development to occur much. Now that we've fixed it, development is occurring and things are happening. You can now do multifamily and duplexes in that zone now. Without any changes in the village commercial zone, of which it already is. The major change that occurs is being able to do single family residential. And this is in a UGA that has 3,000 people in it, unlike a Belfair UGA, which has less than 1,000. This is a very high residential UGA. What it doesn't have much of is the ability to have services and stuff within the UGA, and that's what the village commercial and these other commercial entities are. By taking away 20% of the village commercial, it's a huge impact on being able to have services and the like in that UGA area. On top of that, our mobility plans, our 6-year plan and stuff, has already started to address to actually put a road in down Wheelwright from the beginning to the end, which is the plan that is in the model that they put together many years ago that's down at the port. It shows that that would be their circular aspect of using that community. Absent of that, if you take it away and just do all residential like you have all up on the hills, you will shorten the ability to use it for commercial in the future. And when we set these things up, especially as a UGA, it's set up for the long term. I agree. The village commercial didn't work. I'm one of the people that fought for a long time to get that to change. But now that it has changed, it is working. We got to give it time to actually work. It may be easier to sell the properties residential, but you'll never get back that commercial once you take it away. That's just how it works. You can always, quite often you can get a home in here and there, but once you start taking out a huge portion of a commercial in an area that has very small commercial use left, that's a huge impact that they won't get back. And so with that, I will not be making a motion or voting in support of it.
Yeah, I appreciate Commissioner Netherland's comments on that. I am supportive of this. It has gone through the Planning Advisory Commission twice and has been heavily supported there. I do appreciate your comments and factor that into my support of this. As some of the comments we heard today, we do need housing. If we can't get it in urban growth areas, we're not going to get it anywhere. I've been consistent on that since I've been on the commission. And have tried to give deference to the Planning Advisory Commission on these issues. There's already similarly situated medium density residential across the street, and I don't think this is out of bounds with that. So I will make a motion to approve item 10.1, the rezone of 8.66 acres from village commercial to multifamily medium density residential.
And I will second that. I do support this. I think the Planning Commission thoroughly vetted this, and Mason County really does need more homes, so I will support that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed?
Nay?
Okay. All right, motion passes. All right, we will move on to item number 11, board reports and calendars. Ask Commissioner Netherland to go first,
Yes.
Commissioner Schutte, and then myself.
Because we have a meeting started 15 minutes ago, I will do it in short form. I met with a group on signage in the Belfair UGA area. I met with a group of people here with the director in regards to some of the issues we're having with our county permitting, including Ridge Motorsports and Capallison and others. Risk pool interviews, Governor's Committee on working with folks with disabilities. Met with the PAC chair, briefings, and the left board. After this, it started 15 minutes ago, we had the COVID-19 meeting with our directors. Met with going to meet with the chair of the Regional Peninsula Transportation Organization, the ARC. While we're 15, I have a meeting at the ACA and briefings, and we start over again.
Wow. Mr. Schutte?
Yeah, just a couple of quick items. I'll also be at the meeting that started 15 minutes ago on coronavirus. Then also later this week, meeting with former Representative Kathy Haig, who is moving off of chair of the Housing Authority Board for Mason County, and so be chatting with her about a transition strategy there. And then later on this week, we'll be doing a ride along with the Sheriff's Office, and then back Monday.
Great, thank you. So daily I will be attending COVID-19 meetings until we have no more meetings. This afternoon I will be attending a school briefing regarding the virus. Tomorrow is a very full day, Oakland Bay Clean Water, and also a conference call regarding the virus, LSC Roundtable in Olympia, and LSC also in Olympia on the Hill on Thursday. Then I'll be at the Public Works Board on Friday. And that brings us back to Monday briefings. And also don't forget that Sunday is daylight savings.
The whole. Commissioner, if I could just make one more comment. You know, a lot of the talk today has been on coronavirus and COVID-19, and this is why we're so adamant about the legislature funding local public health jurisdictions. Look, your local health jurisdictions are the front line of defense against the spread of communicable disease like coronavirus. They're critical in investigating. They're critical in providing a prepared response. And so if you talk to your legislators, tell them how critical it is to fund local public health. They're the first ones on the ground. And then we have to go ask for money from the state and federal government in order to support that work. And so just the tip of the hat to our public health staff over at Community Services and folks that are working this across the state. So.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We're adjourned.